do a little bit of prison time is badge of honor. You know the whole thing about the pants being worn down around. You want to ask the question, don't you?
I do want to ask.
All right.
I saw the shirt. I want to know
What the hell's that guy talking about?
what are you guys filming for?
I've got a public
How you doing?
access
I'm Mike
TV
Smithson.
show.
I don't
Tim.
know if I want to be part of the movie, but I do want to ask why.
BJ Lawson, good to meet you.
I'm with Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. It's an organization of cops, judges, prosecutors, prison wardens, and others who advocate that the war on drugs is a public policy failure. Now, we don't say that it's cool to do drugs, but for crying out loud, what we've been fighting for these last 4 decades, we've built the prison system up, right? Put a lot of people in prison, but drugs are now more potent, more pure, more available, and they're cheaper than ever before. And the drug cartels, no one controls them. I mean, the drug cartels and the organized crime and international terrorists have this great commodity. So we advocate that, you know, we're trying to give a voice to cops.
Hi, this is BJ Lawson, and we're here taking the pulse of the war on drugs with Mike Smithson of LEAP, which stands for Law Enforcement Against Prohibition.
Than's.
Mike, we're having a great conversation here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We've been meeting a lot of people.
Meeting a lot of people. A lot of people have some opinions on this war on drugs. What other things do you think are important for people to know about LEAP and the war on drugs?
Show us the back of your shirt, Mike.
This message was come up with by Howard Wooldridge, retired Michigan detective, and he rode across America as his way to show his advocacy. And he rode his horse across America wearing this shirt.
Really?
And we decided to make this one of our pet slogans, because by saying "Ask me why," we're constantly getting people tapping us on the shoulder and saying, "Why do cops say legalize drugs?" And what I've started doing, a lot of us answer the question a little bit differently. But what I've started doing is, well, can you tell me the first thing that what the war on drugs has done? What beneficial thing do you think the war on drugs has done? Almost everybody points to the prison system, and they're
Right.
usually laughing. They mean that tongue in cheek. One of our speakers is a guy named Joe McNamara, and he's the former police chief of Kansas City and San Jose, California.
Okay.
So Joe, in San Jose, I think is the 4th largest city in California. So this is about 10 years ago, and the new budget comes out. And he's going down looking at the various items that have to do with the police department. And under new police cruisers, it's got 0 listed. I mean, here is the 4th largest city in California, and the money for police cruisers is 0. So he immediately gets on the phone to the city manager and says, you know, "Hey, Bill, what's up? You know, I got to replace those cars. They're wrecks. They get driven into the ground, and we need money." He says, "Joe, what are you talking about?" He says, "I saw the amount of money you guys brought in through asset forfeiture last year. You don't need any money from the city for new police cruisers." Now think about that. The city manager was telling him that it was now his responsibility to provide the funds needed to operate the police department.
By seizing assets.
That's a scary, scary thought.
That's a very scary thought.
In fact, that scary thought is in line with a lot of other scary thoughts that have come out in the war on drugs. A word that started to crop up in the criminal justice in press releases.
Mm-hmm.
When something bad happens, like they bust a house that turns out it was the wrong address,
Right.
or someone dies and they're injured during a police bust.
Right.
All right. Well, that word that we start to hear now is collateral damage.
Right.
Now that's a military term.
Right.
Collateral damage is something that was never heard of or even accepted when talking about an incident involving the police.
Civilian law enforcement.
We did not allow that.
Not saying a whole lot.
Can we ask a question?
Yeah. What?
On the back of your shirt.
Yeah.
Ask me why.
Well, before I answer your question, what do you think has been the best? What do you think is the number one? What is the best thing the war on drugs has done for us in 40 years?
The war on drugs.
Yeah, what has it done for us in 40 years?
Amen.
Pretty good at
That's
putting
it.
people in prison, aren't we?
It's all it does.
And it's really making people bad because the fathers, what about the empty families? Even though that's what they went to jail for, trying to support their family.
Totally agree. So that's what this organization's about. I'm with an organization called Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, which is comprised of cops, judges, prosecutors, prison wardens, and others who say this isn't working.
Right.
We've been saying it by ourselves quietly for years. Now we're starting to speak out about it. And so this organization has 10,000 members around the world, most of them in the United States. And we're down in Greensboro today talking on this TV show about this, and we're talking to the community about it. Yes.
No, y'all saying you have on there, y'all want to legalize it.
Yes.
What about the people who really need help behind it?
Well, that is exactly should be the first line of. We should treat people as a public health issue first.
Yes.
All right, with the people who are addicted or using things badly, causing harm to the community, certainly, public health should be the first line. They should have on demand any help they need to try to get off the drug. Now, people they ignore, though, is a felony drug conviction, what it does to that person after they get out. Now, I'm with you. They shouldn't have gotten involved with the drugs, all right? And certainly there's consequences.
But they never make as much income. They cannot produce as much income and taxes for the government.
That's exactly what I tell people. You're right on the money.
No, it's I know. The statistics on that, people don't realize that. I mean, I know other situations with friends of mine that, they've claimed bankruptcy and they've had other financial problems, and they go for a job, and if it's a publicly traded company, they're not the first pick. It doesn't matter. Even if they're leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the applicants, they'll go with somebody else first.
Well, we had 1.9 million drug offenders last year. Drug arrests. 1.9 million drugs. Now that 1.9 million, by the way, eclipses rape, robbery, murder, and assault. Those four categories across the United States, at 1.9 eclipses all four of those combined. And so all those people go to prison. But when they get out, you're right, they pay less in taxes because they have a lower paying job. They have to depend on the public health system, right? Because they probably don't have a decent medical plan in their job.
Exactly right.
And what about retirement?
Good luck with that.
All right, so they're not putting money away, so now they're even more dependent on Social Security. So you've got to, so our laws are almost like a laboratory. That we set this plan up like, well, we'll come up with real strict laws and hope that it'll deter them from doing drugs. But it didn't work. We've seen that for 40 years. And so after 40 years, now we've got this huge population, almost 40 million people that have gone to prison for these long terms, and now they're putting less tax money in. They're having to depend on the public, on other taxpayers for public health, for retirement, and just everything else. Then that's when this is all going to start changing. Right. Once these, go ahead. Sorry.
What's funny is that for me, I didn't come to this conclusion easily in the sense that I grew up during the war on drugs. I grew up with DARE and Just Say No and all this good stuff. For me, it took going through medical school, and then more important than medical school, actually working and taking care of patients and spending time in the community and the community health centers. And you just begin to see what drug abuse and the way that we criminalize drug abuse does to the people who are struggling with these addictions. Because, like you said, there's so many people that are addicted to something, whether it's drugs or alcohol or tobacco or red meat or carbohydrates or too many Big Macs. All of these things can hurt us in excess. And it's just having the understanding that, how can we help people work through these addictions as long as they're not hurting somebody else? And that's where I draw the line. Because if someone is a menace to society, if someone is hurting somebody else, yes, those are the people that we need to be incarcerating. Those are the people that we need to be locking up. But we're talking about somebody that's got a behavioral problem that's really, hurting them and helping and preventing them from reaching their full potential. There's got to be something better than spending $25,000, $30,000 a year to lock these people up.